This is a story about my Uncle Spencer. For most of my life, I did not know him well, and what I did know wasn't good. Before Spencer was old enough to even walk, he had been in 13 different foster homes. My grandparents adopted him at the age of 1. Even though he was raised in the church, he was in and out of trouble his entire childhood. At the age of 23, during an attempted carjacking, he murdered a 48-year-old woman and received the death penalty. My family disowned him, and we rarely talked about him after that. When you have a family member that's a convicted murderer on death row, it's easy to find happier conversation. And for the next 5 years, he became a distant memory to everyone. Well, maybe not everyone. When I turned 18, Uncle Spencer began to creep into my mind. I wanted to know the full story of what had happened, but more importantly, who he was. I wrote him asking to come and visit, and he accepted. I didn't go expecting to see my uncle. I expected to see a monster. I remember arriving at the Ellis unit in Huntsville and walking past all the cages full of men waiting to die, and I was literally shaking. I sat down and saw not a monster, but a man broken. We talked for 2 hours, having the first real conversation since I was in 3rd grade. He was still angry, blaming everyone from my family to the state of Texas for his situation. Over the next year, I secretly visited Spencer on a regular basis, never telling my family what I was doing. He was given an execution date, and 4 days before he was to be put to death, he was given a stay. His attorney would later tell me that he had filed no papers for a stay of execution and doesn't know why it was granted. I do. Over the next few months, I began to see a change in Spencer. His letters stopped being angry rants and now seemed more hopeful. Not a hope that he wasn't going to die, but a hope that he had something to live for. He talked about how much he valued our time spent together. He shared his faith with other inmates. He shared his faith with prison guards. He started a Bible study on death row. 6 months after his stay of execution, he was given a new execution date. I finally found the courage to tell my family I had been seeing Spencer, and 2 days before he was to be put to death, several other family members joined me in a visit with my uncle. Hours before his execution, he called my grandparents to ask for forgiveness. I told the chaplain when Spencer was strapped to the table to remind him that I loved him. His response was, "God is with me now, and in the morning I will be with him." Since his death, my family has not been the same. There has been much healing. Forgiveness toward Spencer for the things he had done, and forgiveness toward me for being so secretive. My father and I were able to mend a lot of fences, because Spencer taught us that time together as a family is precious, but not guaranteed. On his headstone, I suppose there could be a lot of things written. Cold-blooded murderer, as described by the police sergeant in his trial, or society's worst nightmare, as named by the district attorney. We decided to go with something else. I now think about all the things that God did through Spencer's life, causing a scared 18-year-old girl to reach out to a frightening man she barely knew, giving a criminal an extra 6 months to live in this world so that he could have an eternity in a far better place. using lethal injection to heal a family that had grown bitter. Maybe that explains the rainbow directly over our house on the day he was sentenced. A reminder from God telling us that everything was going to be okay. And that's why, when my son was born, I named him Cameron Spencer. Not after the murderer, but after my uncle. A man ultimately known for one thing, and one thing only: knowing Christ. I'm Megan Goodman, and this is my story.